Okay, so we are moving on with the program, and we have talked about medications that are FDA approved and treatments, and we've also talked about some that are coming. And now we're going to talk about something very exciting, and that would be gene therapy and the two FDA gene therapies. And we're going to go to now, just one second. My daughter is a teacher, and this is what she does. Can you hear my fingers snapping? My friend in the ivory colored pants over there, can you hear my fingers snapping? Okay, the program has started. If you need to talk, you need to step outside, but our preference would be that you would sit down and listen. Okay, let's go to the video.
We are excited to kick off our next session, two FDA-approved gene therapies, featuring two exceptional speakers who bring deep knowledge, experience, and a strong commitment to the sickle cell community. First, let me introduce Taylor Francis, a patient educator at Vertex Pharmaceuticals, here to discuss the latest gene therapy, Casgevy. In her role, Taylor provides critical education and resources to individuals impacted by sickle cell disease or beta thalassemia, equipping them to have meaningful conversations with their healthcare providers. She is deeply attuned to the needs of the community, ensuring her work resonates with those she serves. Prior to joining Vertex, Taylor worked as a registered nurse and nurse educator, specializing in solid organ transplants for a decade in several Houston hospitals. She recently earned her master's degree and is now a licensed nursing educator. Following Taylor, we'll hear from Edsel Bester, the patient and community education liaison at Bluebird Bio. With 3 decades of experience in pharmaceutical sales and patient advocacy, Edsel has dedicated much of his career to addressing sickle cell disease. He represents Bluebird Bio's gene therapy, Lyfgenia, and works to reduce healthcare disparities by providing essential education on gene therapy and Bluebird Bio's offerings. Based in Las Vegas, Edsel's efforts continue to build connections between innovative treatments and the sickle cell community. Together, Taylor and Edsel will share invaluable insights on the latest advancements in gene therapy for sickle cell disease. We are excited to.
Okay, I think there has been a little change in the program. And I think it's going to be Wanda Vasquez. Okay, come on up. We're ready for you.
Thank you.
Just take a minute to tell us who you are, because they showed the
Oh.
video about somebody else.
Ah.
And I love your name.
Wanda, yes, Wanda Vasquez or Wanda Vasquez. I'm glad to be here today. As Dr. Smith mentioned, I'm Wanda Vasquez. I'm the patient educator from Vertex Pharmaceutical. Okay, yes, we are ready. Let me go here. And yes, perfect. Okay, well, let's start first before I introduce myself, talking and welcome everybody. And I'll be here today to bring to you an overview of Casgevy, and very important, I don't know if it's working. Here it is. Is now, yes. Please note, this is a disclaimer. Please note that the recording or reproducing this presentation in any format is strictly prohibited. And yes, I'm Wanda Vasquez, patient educator from Vertex, and I'm locally based in Florida, the Sunshine State. And I'm glad to be here, but I cover other areas like Kansas City with Kevin, Ohio, Mississippi, and I'm very glad to share with you today a lot of information. I'll be in the pharmaceutical industry for over 2 decades. And for me, patient educator is so important. And I'll be a patient educator for over 13 years. And now I'm here to share with you some information. As patient educator, I want to share with you what we do, right? And we are committed to providing information and education about sickle cell disease to people living with and affected by sickle cell disease with education, tools, resources, and all of that can help you to have meaningful conversation with your providers. What we don't do, I cannot provide any medical advice. And of course, it's very, very important that your healthcare provider talk with your healthcare provider or your healthcare team, because they are always your primary source related to your health, to your treatment, or the health and treatment of of someone that you are care for. During today's presentation, I will review the overview of Casgevy and how was studied, the results, and some important safety information. And to learn more, I invite everybody to the 6:30 p.m. presentation, and there we can have the Q&A section, okay? Well, just to start, what is Casgevy? Casgevy is a one-time gene therapy for patients aged 12 years and older living with sickle cell disease who have frequent vaso-occlusive crises, regardless of their genotype. Casgevy is made using the precise gene editing technology called CRISPR-Cas9. And Casgevy use a non-viral delivery method. Casgevy is made with your body's own stem cells, so no donor is needed. Casgevy treatment involve multiple steps and could take up to a year. Let's review some important safety information for Casgevy. Casgevy, as I mentioned before, is a one-time therapy used to treat people aged 12 years and older with sickle cell disease who have frequent vaso-occlusive crises. And Casgevy is made specifically for each patient, using the patient's own edited blood stem cells and increase the production of a special types of hemoglobin called hemoglobin F, or fetal hemoglobin, or HbF. Having more HbF or fetal hemoglobin increase overall hemoglobin levels and has been shown to improve the production and function of red blood cells. And this can eliminate VOCs in people with sickle cell disease. And what is the most important information you should know about Casgevy? After treatment with Casgevy, you will have fewer blood cells for a while until Casgevy takes hold or engraft into your bone marrow. And this includes low levels of platelets, cells that usually help the blood to clot, and white blood cells, cells that usually fight infections. Your doctor will monitor these and give you treatment as required, and the doctor will tell you when the blood levels return to safe levels. And it's important to tell your healthcare provider right away if you experience any of the following, which could be signs of low levels of platelets, and this includes severe headaches, abnormal bruising, prolonged bleeding, bleeding without injuries, such as nosebleed, bleeding from gums, blood in your urine, stool or vomit, or coughing up blood. Tell your healthcare provider right away if you experience any of the following, which could be signs of low levels of white blood cells, like fever, chills, infections. And you may experience side effects associated with other medicine administered as part of the treatment regimen with Casgevy. And it's important to talk to your physician, to your doctor, regarding of those possible side effects. Your healthcare provider may give you other medicines to treat your side effects. Now, let's cover some background about the Casgevy clinical study. Casgevy was studied to determine possible benefits and risk. And the study included 44 people with sickle cell disease. And to be included in the study, a patient had to be 12 to 35 years of age and have sickle cell disease with at least two severe VOCs or vaso-occlusive crisis a year in the 2 years before the screening. And the study is an open label, which means everyone who was in the study knew about they are receiving Casgevy, and there was no placebo. People receive Casgevy at different times. At the time that the data were reviewed, 31 people were measured for efficacy and how well Casgevy worked. And safety was measured for all 44 people. And what is the severe VOC? And I need to talk about this because it's important to understand that in the study, a vaso-occlusive crisis was considered severe if it involved any of the following: pain event requiring a visit to a health facility, pain medication, or RBC, red blood cells transfusion. Acute chest syndrome, priapism, which is a persistent and often painful erection of the penis for more than 2 hours and requiring a visit to a medical facility, or splenic sequestration, that is sickle red blood cells that get trapped in the spleen and block the blood flow. Let's look now the Casgevy result. In that case, 93.5% of people, that is 29 out of 31, did not have a severe VOC for at least 12 months in a row after Casgevy infusion. 100% of people, that is 30 out of 30, went without hospitalization for a severe VOC for at least 12 months in a row after Casgevy infusion. One of the 31 participants was evaluable for severe VOC, but not for hospitalization. And for the 29 people who did not have a severe VOC for at least 12 months in a row, the total median length of time without a severe VOC was 22.2 months. And one person experienced a severe VOC at month 22.8 and required hospitalization. Let's look now the Casgevy side effects. Everyone who received Casgevy in the clinical study and this include 44 patients, was monitored for safety. After treatment with Casgevy, you will have a fewer blood cells for a while until Casgevy takes hold or engraft into your bone marrow. And this include low level of platelets. And again, is cells that usually help the blood to clot. And white blood cells that usually fight infections. And your doctor will monitor these and give you treatment as required. And the doctor will tell you when blood cells levels return to safe levels. And if you receive Casgevy, make sure to tell your healthcare provider right away if you experience any of the following symptoms: fever, chills, infection, severe headache, abnormal bruising, prolonged bleeding, bleeding without injuries such as nosebleeds, bleeding from gums, blood in your urine, stool, or vomit, or coughing up blood. And the most common side effects of Casgevy include low levels of platelets, which may reduce the ability of blood to clot and may cause bleeding, and low levels of white blood cells, which make you more susceptible to infections. If you receive Casgevy, your healthcare provider will test your blood to check for low levels of blood cells, including platelets and white blood cells. And these are not all the possible side effects of Casgevy. If you receive Casgevy, call your doctor for medical advice about side effects, and you may report the side effects to FDA or at this number, 1-800-FDA 1088. And after receiving the conditioning medicine, which is a form of chemotherapy, it may not be possible to you to become pregnant or father a child. You should discuss options for fertility preservation with your healthcare provider before treatment. You may experience side effects associated with other medicine administered as part of the treatment regimen with Casgevy, and it's important to talk with your doctors, with your physician regarding of those possible side effects. And your healthcare provider may give you other medicines to treat your side effects. And important that they in the clinical study, there were no cases of graft versus host disease, graft failure or graft rejection with Casgevy. And the side effects were similar to what would be expected from busulfan myeloablative conditioning and stem cell transplant, and most occur within the first 6 months after the Casgevy infusion. Oh my gosh, 2 minutes. I need to run. Well, I'm ending very soon. More additional information, important safety information you have in your tables, the package insert, and all the information that I'm talking here is on your package insert. The people that are virtually, they receive also the link from the package insert. Let's go. Let's see if I can do that in 2 minutes. Okay, how will I receive Casgevy? It's important that your healthcare provider will give you other medicine, including a conditioning medicine as part of your treatment with Casgevy. And it's important to talk to your healthcare provider about the risk and benefits of all medicine involved in your treatment. And after receiving this conditioning medicine, it may not be possible for you to become pregnant or father a child. You should discuss option for fertility preservation with your healthcare provider before treatment. And here we have some steps, and the step number 1 is before Casgevy treatment. A doctor will give you a mobilization medicine, and this medicine move blood stem cell from your bone marrow into the bloodstream. And the blood stem cells are then collected in the machine that separate the different blood cells. That is called apheresis. And this entire process may happen more than once, and each time it is take up to 1 week. And during this step, rescue cells are also collected and stored at the hospital. These are your existing blood stem cells and are kept untreated just in case there is a problem in the treatment process. If Casgevy cannot be given after the condition in medicine, or the modified blood stem cell do not take hold or engraft in the body, the rescue cells will given back to you. If you are given rescue cells, you will not have any treatment benefits from Casgevy. Step number 2, after they are collected, your blood stem cell will be sent to the manufacturing site where they are used to make Casgevy. And it may take up to 6 months from the time your cells are collected to manufacture and test Casgevy before it's sent back to your healthcare provider. Step number 3, shortly before your stem cell transplant, your healthcare provider will give you a conditioning medicine for a few days in the hospital. And this will prepare you for the treatment by clearing cells from the bone marrow so they can be replaced with the modified cells in Casgevy. After you are given this medicine, your blood cells levels will fall to very low levels. You will stay in the hospital for this step and remain in the hospital until after the infusion with Casgevy. Step number 4, 1 or more vials of Casgevy will be given into a vein, intravenous infusion over a short period of time. And after this Casgevy infusion, you will stay in the hospital so that the healthcare provider can closely monitor your recovery. And this could be take 4 through 6 weeks, but time can vary. And your healthcare provider will decide when you can go home. Yes. Yes. And of course, I jump to the last slide and I invite everybody to join us at 6:30 p.m. that we have a full presentation because this was a high level presentation. And you can also, let me go here. Oh, yeah. Here you can scan this QR code for upcoming events, but also I hope to see you all at 6:30 p.m. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And as I welcome Esther to the podium, I just want to make 2 comments. Come on now. No, wait there. And that is that using going to the hospital as severe pain episode, I'm going to say something that Kim Smith Whitley says all the time. I just want to double click on the fact that a lot of warriors experience a severe pain episode and never go to the hospital because they're afraid they won't be treated properly. Go right here.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Etzel Bester. I'm with Bluebird Bio, and I am the Patient and Education Coordinator Liaison for the West Coast. Okay, great. So before I get started, just want to share with you some disclosures and disclaimers that Bluebird asked me to share with you. We are sponsors of the event today, and we were asked to come here, and I'm actually an employee and shareholder of Bluebird Bio. This presentation is intended for U.S. audiences 18 years of age or older and not intended to take place of a discussion with your doctor or provide medical advice or not intended to make treatment recommendations. So please discuss any of those questions with your doctor, as she stated as well. Just hit the green button, right? This one?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. All right, I'm sorry. Here we go. All right, Bluebird Bio is a biotech company dedicated to developing gene therapies for severe genetic diseases. And in this gene therapy leadership, we've had 10 years of gene therapy research with about 180 patients. And that has led to 3 FDA-approved medications. And one thing that's really beautiful about Bluebird is that we are committed to patient access. We have My Bluebird support that can really walk you through or hold your hand through the process if you choose to go through gene therapy. So what is Lyfgenia? Lyfgenia is a one-time gene therapy to treat sickle cell disease. It's made specifically for you using your own cells with no donor needed. And I think that's very important. It's for ages 12 years of age or older with a history of vaso-occlusive events. And what Lyfgenia does is adds functional copies of the beta globin gene to your cells, leading to production of anti-cyclic hemoglobin that may decrease or stop vaso-occlusive events. So when you look at some of the important safety information, I think it's very important. At the time of the approval, there were 3 patients that were diagnosed with cancer, and those patients were treated with an earlier version of Lyfgenia using a different manufacturing and transplant procedure. And one patient had alpha thalassemia trait. One of the things with Lyfgenia is that it may increase your risk of developing blood cancer. And this is something that you want to make sure you discuss with your healthcare provider. And you should always make sure, once again, that you have a treatment team from a primary care physician to a hematologist to a bone marrow transplant physician to go over these side effects. How Lyfgenia works at the genetic level. Remember, Lyfgenia is a gene addition therapy. It's a little different than some of the other products out there, designed to add genetic material to your cells. So if you look at the process, number one, the cells are collected, and then they're modified in a manufacturing process, and then your own cells are then infused back to you, and then with the goal of having functional adult hemoglobin. When we studied Lyfgenia, it was the longest studied approved gene therapy for sickle cell disease, and the safety was studied in 54 people. 25 years of age was the median age. There was patients as young as 12 up to the age of 43, and that was a 42-month median duration of follow-up. So when you look at the results, I think they're very impressive. When you look on the left side, 88% of individuals, it was 28 out of 32 people, did not experience any vaso-occlusive events. And those are vaso-occlusive events. On the right side, 94% of individuals, 30 out of 32 patients, didn't experience any serious vaso-occlusive events. To kind of illustrate this, you can look at the results, and there's a lot of things going on here, but I'd ask you to think about each line where you see these particular dots as a patient. And you see all the dots on the left side is before Lyfgenia, and then you look on the right side, those are the patients, the efficacy of Lyfgenia afterwards. So very impressive when you look at the treatment of Lyfgenia. Something, you guys know this probably better than I do, but vaso-occlusive events, these are our 2 primary endpoints, were defined as any of the following events requiring evaluation at a medical facility: an episode of acute pain with no medically determined cause, and they were lasting 2 hours, such as acute chest pain, acute hepatic sequestration, and acute splenic sequestration. And you look at severe VOEs, they were defined as either following events that were requiring hospitalization or multiple visits to an emergency department or urgent care over 72 hours. Some of the additional efficacy results were the neurologic results. 5 individuals with a history of stroke or vasooscopy were treated. They were at least 18 years of age or older on chronic transfusions therapy prior to Lyfgenia infusion. And at 44 to 60 months, Follow-up, all 5 individuals remain transfusion independent without repeated stroke. So we really appreciate that result and look forward to treating more patients. So to kind of better understand the risk of blood cancer, there were 2 individuals, as I mentioned before, that were treated with the earlier version of Lyfgenia using a different manufacturing process and transplant procedure. And they developed acute myeloid leukemia, AML. Also, there was another patient in an individual that had alpha thalassemia trait that was diagnosed with MDS. So something to keep in mind is that additional stress of mobilization, conditioning, and infusion of Lyfgenia can have an effect on your blood system, including the need to produce new cells. And this may increase the risk of blood cancer. And also to keep in mind, individuals living with sickle cell disease have an increased risk of blood cancer as compared to those living without. So when you look at the steps to the treatment of journey, the steps to the treatment, it's a one-time treatment, but there's multiple steps. So step 1 is a pre-treatment phase when you're kind of, collecting, you're talking to your medical team, your primary care, your hematologist, your bone marrow transplant doctor. The second step is the stem cell collection. Step 3 is when Lyfgenia is actually created for you from your own cells. Number 4 is the conditioning and chemotherapy process. The 5th step is Lyfgenia infusion. And then the final step is the recovery and long-term follow-up that you're going to have with your healthcare professional. As I kind of brought up before, My Bluebird support is there to help navigate, educate, and elevate. And one thing that's fantastic about the support team is that we have professionals that will, like I said, will hold patients' hands all the way through the treatment journey, as well as talk to healthcare professionals if they have any questions as well. To kind of just in summary about some of the important safety information, what should you avoid after receiving Lyfgenia? You don't want to donate any blood, organ, tissues, or cells. And some of the possible side effects with Lyfgenia and the process of chemotherapy is blood cancer. So you want to make sure, once again, you want to have good conversations with your healthcare professional about all the things, risks and benefits of anything, gene therapy, or any medications that you take. So we just want to, say thank you. This is the first time I've done it with a remote and the computer here, so it's kind of funny. Lyfgenia is a one-time transformational gene therapy with potential to decrease or stop vaso-occlusive events. And if you have any further questions, I know we're going to have a Q&A. We would like to entertain them. But thank you for your time, and I appreciate it.
So maybe you can stay up here with me
Okay.
because it was decided that we would just not have questions from Vertex because they're having the whole dinner and they'll do the question and answers. So we'll just put you on the spot and have questions for you.
Okay.
I just have a couple of comments. One is that this whole idea of fertility preservation is a huge issue. And a lot of you know a young woman named Tiana Wolford, who underwent a bone marrow transplant, and it gave her fertility issues. And she looked up fertility grants, fertility preservation grants for people with sickle cell disease, and she only found them for people with cancer. And so she started an organization, SC Red, the Sickle Cell Health Education, Reproductive Health Education Directive, and she is already providing grants for fertility preservation. And when I talk to people about this, some have said to me, it's kind of like choosing between having a cure for sickle cell disease and having a grandchild. So the fertility preservation is really an important issue. The other thing is that the National Association of Sickle Cell, the National Alliance of Sickle Cell Centers, headed by Julie Cantor and Sophie Lanskrons, has tried to take steps to make sure that you get these treatments in sickle cell centers, in places where people know about sickle cell, because it's kind of like that shiny new object. Oh, okay, we don't know nothing about sickle cell, but we're going to do this genetic cure, so we're really trying to make sure that you get the best possible care by having experts in both transplant and in sickle cell disease be involved in your care. So now we're ready for questions for Edsel. And you saved us some time, actually.
did I
Thank
save
you.
some
You
time?
did like 5 minutes,
Oh,
you know, so you're getting an
So I get some more
award.
time?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, no more slides. But any questions from the audience? Or any questions from the virtual audience?
So there are no questions from the virtual audience at the moment. Virtual people, if you do have any questions, please add your questions inside of the ask question part and the virtual side, but we could take a few questions from the audience.
Yes. Microphone over there for you. Here he comes.
I wanted to ask. Hi, I wanted to. Hi, I'm Wumi Bakari. I wanted to ask this: how do patients know if these treatments are available in their state? Is there like a comprehensive list that patients can go online and look up and check, and then connect with their hematologist so they can be better informed of how to even consider this treatment?
Great question. My Bluebird support, where I had a QR code up there, and I'll have some giveaways as well that have that on there. They can go there, they can ask a question there, or they can go to lyfgenia.com, and there's a QTC Qualified Treatment Center locator, because as Dr. Shirley mentioned, you want to make sure there's certain centers that are qualified and are trained to do the gene therapy. And we have a list of those online, and you can get them through my Bluebird support.
Okay, and that's not to be confused with Bluebird Bio's treatment, because I'm using Bluebird Vertex and just.
Well, okay, maybe I didn't understand the question. You asking specifically for Lyfgenia or specifically just for gene therapy?
I'm asking for Lyfgenia.
Yes, then go to my Bluebird support or lyfgenia.com, and there
Okay.
was a QTC.
Thank
Okay, yes.
And obviously, even if you go just the Bluebird site, it'll direct you to my
Yes.
Bluebird support. So, and
Yes.
both companies have that option on their website to be able to find the treatment centers throughout the US.
And I have something to give you. I'll give it to you. So, yes, gentleman here has a
I have a
question. Oh, sorry.
My name is Felika Calloway, and the question is cancer. What was the percentage of patients that got cancer from the gene therapy?
It was, I didn't talk to a specific percentage of cancer, but there were 3 patients or 2 patients that developed the cancer from there. And I can get some more information to you when we get through the break, or Lisa, if you want to step in.
Preparative regimen.
Yes, it was different regimen, manufacturing and collection.
So is
process.
it possible for people to get pre-tested for cancer just to make sure they don't have it before they start the gene therapy?
I would imagine so. And that's once again, a question you want to have to your healthcare provider before you do, but good question. Okay, thank you. I think the gentleman had a question here.
The process that Lyfgenia is using, is it being applied in any other disease areas?
I'm not sure, and it's a good question, and we can maybe follow up on that, Lisa, but I'm not sure. Do you, or Dr. Trini might know?
One, this one's specifically for sickle cell, and another one for beta thalassemia, and another one for a very rare form called ALD. But Lyfgenia specifically, as Edsel just discussed, is for sickle cell.
Right, but good question.
Thank you.
yes.
There's another question.
Just something in general related to what the sister asked. I'm wondering if the companies that are doing the trials, the question that she asked, is that taken into consideration for anything else? For instance, if we know that we have a few people that fall out with a certain illness as a side effect, are those some things that we can ask, can we test people for that before we start the trial? If those things are showing up,
Mhm.
maybe just a suggestion for you, pharmaceuticals and people that are making
Yes.
the.
It's,
Right, right.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, in one point that I probably should have made, and I didn't, I just thought about, so thanks for bringing it up, is that we have, where you can sign up for the long-term treatment and follow-up. And it does kind of survey the things that go along, either, good or bad. So that might be, does that kind of answer your question? Like, just kind of making sure,
Find that some things are happening.
sure, that it's reported, always should be reported.
No, other trials that you have,
Mhm.
you would test people before you start on the trial. What those Right.
So my understanding is if you have a predisposition to any kind of condition or an issue in your family history, that's
Right.
part of your workup before you even get
Right.
approved to go through these gene therapies. So they definitely are going to look for those issues dependent on your specific family background and history and risk factor. So, those things do go into consideration before going into these treatments. Also, because these treatments are so new and they were just approved in December, there is a 15-year follow-up that the FDA is having for all these therapies when people go through. So you will be monitored even after this therapy for a 15-year period.
So I think we're gonna end, Pat has a question or comment?
Just speak, I can speak loud. So it's my understanding that before people are sent forward to you guys, they're.
Oh.
Mhm.
Is it on? Okay. It's my understanding, and in the past, when I was involved with studies, we did a physical workup on that person before we
Sure.
sent them forward. So we were looking at all their labs and x-rays and EKGs and all those kind of things were done before the doctor decided that this is a person who will go forward for this,
Absolutely.
a preliminary kind of thing went on.
And I mentioned it, and I know Vertex did too. This is a transformational therapy that takes a lot of thought and planning, and you have to get together your healthcare team. Like I said, from your primary care doctor to the hematologist, the bone marrow transplant team. So all those things that you're talking about, and you guys are asking questions about, you're going to have to ask those questions to them, and you're going to have to make sure you have a good, well-informed conversation with your healthcare professional.
Okay.
Any more
Thank you
questions?
so much.
All right.